Hello, today we're going to talk about Uganda and the population demographics of Uganda. This presentation is made by Paula and Rick.
First, we're going to give a quick introduction of the country. Uganda is on the UN's list of least developed countries and was colonized by the British in the 1800s.
Its religious groups are Christianity, which is three quarters of the population, and Islam is 1/4 of the population. So now the index. First, we're going to give a historical overview of the population demographics, then the current population statistics, the reasons for Uganda's high total fertility rate, what access do Ugandans have to public health systems, why have family planning and reproductive health been sidelined, what social and economic impact does a young population have, and could the discovery of oil in 2006 help or hinder the challenges facing Uganda's young population? So, a brief history on the population. So, figure 1.5, which is a graph on the orphanhood in Uganda. The first bar shows the orphanhood in 1999 to 2000. The second one on 2002 to 2003. The third one on 2005 to 2006. And the other one is 2014. So it talks about the orphanhood. Then after that we have a graph on the older people in Uganda, a graph on people with disabilities, and a graph on Uganda's population.
I will highlight the most important data, and after you can have some time to look at it for yourself. So the birth rate is 44 births per 1,000 people. The death rate is approximately 11 deaths per 1,000 people, making the natural increase 33.2%. The total fertility rate is approximately 6 children per woman, and the infant mortality rate is, for both male and females, 60 children per 1,000 live births. The life expectancy in years is 54 years. Uganda's population is growing at a rate of 3.5% per year, and this is mostly due to the high fertility rate. Although it was declined in urban areas, unfortunately it continues to increase in rural areas where women are not as educated on matters such as birth control and women's rights. There are 4 main reasons for the high fertility rate, which we will discuss. I'll take you through the patriarchal reasons, the economic reasons, the cultural reasons, whereas Rick will discuss how the Ugandan president has supported the high fertility rate.
So the president wants the country to have a high fertility rate because one of the main reasons is that he believes in, if the country has a high population, its economy will grow, which is ridiculous in my opinion.
Patriarchy. Unfortunately, 46% of underage girls, which means in Uganda below 18, are forced or lured into marriage. This prevents further education, which leads to poverty and lack of knowledge on contraceptives. There is usually a large gap, well, not a gap, between the age of husbands and brides. Usually, the brides are teens, while the husbands are in their late 20s, which results in the husbands being stronger than the women, leading to sexual and physical violence. 1/4 of wives report physical domestic violence, and 60% report sexual violence, which leads to unwanted pregnancies. And another reason, which relates to the patriarchy in Uganda for there being a high fertility rate, is that families continue attempting at having children until a son is born. Economic status. Parents expect their children to provide them with a financial security in the future, and the cost of raising children is lower than the value of child labor. 43.5% of Ugandans agree that children are a source of labor and that therefore they would consider having more children. Also, the higher mortality rates result in the necessity to have more to ensure some will survive, especially in rural areas. Culture. 4/5 of the population is Christian, and the remaining 1/5 is mostly Muslim, as Rick already mentioned. Since Christianity doesn't support contraception, 49.4% of people agreed in 2007 that birth control is against God's will. Those who do not have children are frowned upon, and extended family is important and often dictates decisions concerning childbirth. And poor health environments lead to discouragement of abortions even by public hospitals. Is that in the picture?
So the access to public health systems is going to be discussed by Paula again.
It is ranked as one of the world's worst healthcare systems by the World Health Organization. It is ranked 186 out of 191 nations. The hospitals, this is for two main reasons. First of all, the hospitals in rural areas are often understaffed. 38% of healthcare posts are filled, and 70% of doctors and 40% of midwives and nurses operate in urban areas, meaning that only 12% of the Ugandan population actually has quality healthcare. Continuation. Another reason for this is inequality. Out of 80 districts in Uganda, 16 have no hospitals, and 8 hospitals are in Kampala, which is the capital city. Some hospitals are low on funds and therefore cannot afford to provide their patients with adequate medicine. And in 2010, only 38% of births in rural areas were attended by professional health personnel, whereas in urban areas, 80% of births were attended.
So why have family planning and reproductive health been sidelined? First of all, family planning has been sidelined because the men have the only say in how many children they want. The women don't have any say in this and are sometimes even raped to get children. Health has been sidelined due to the lack of knowledge in this area, since in the schooling isn't too great and the education there isn't that great. And also a lot of cultures don't expect the use of condoms and birth fertility control pills. So, what social and economic impact does a young population have? The young population causes the government to be run by young and inexperienced people. This is a huge problem because the inexperienced people don't know how to run a country, and therefore the country might get into economical or social crisis or stuff like that. The people follow the textbooks and don't have any field experience because they're young and they're inexperienced.
Now we'll be talking about the discovery of oil. The discovery of oil will lead to reduction of transport costs as fossil fuels will be more readily available. In addition, there will be jobs created in the oil industry. Luckily, Uganda only requires 11,000 barrels of oil daily, which presents an opportunity for export and increase of international relations. Officials claim that the newfound oil would be worth $2 billion per year, and major oil companies are purchasing stakes at exploration sites. Uganda could soon become one of the top 50 oil producers in the world.
So, the discovery on oil. Unfortunately, the United Nations Human Development Reports demonstrate that the recent discovery is benefiting the rich and rather than the poor. The oil curse. Is this a situation where the abundance of oil leads to economic death, and other exports, and conflicts over the allocation of the resources? The problem of leakage and corruption is a huge deal. Environmental and health risks, and exaggerated expectations also. So why is the population young? 77% of the population is under 30. Poor healthcare leads to a lower life expectancy. Lack of contraceptive use increases the chance of contracting sexually transmitted diseases such as HIV and early marriages. So this is our bibliography, and thank you for paying attention.